My wife said, "You're my soulmate," but I found her talking about a future with him. I didn't know what to say when I saw it. I felt like I was drowning in a mix of confusion, anger, and disbelief. There was, right in front of me on the screen, Mia's phone, the one thing I never thought I'd have to question. The text was from him. "I can't stop thinking about you. I really believe this is it, you know? A future together." I read it over and over, each time trying to make sense of it, trying to convince myself it was a mistake. But the message was clear. She was planning a future with someone else. I had to steady myself, the blood rushing in my ears as I tried to get a grip on the whirlwind of emotions that was tearing through me. My chest tightened, and I suddenly felt like I couldn't breathe. Mia had just told me 2 days ago that I was her soulmate, that we were going to grow old together. Soulmate. And now, I was holding her phone in my hands, seeing this, him, and I couldn't wrap my head around how it was even possible. How had I not seen it coming? I stood there in our living room, gripping her phone so hard I thought I might break it. I had to remind myself to breathe. I wasn't sure how long I'd been standing there, staring at the screen like a madman, but all of a sudden, my feet started moving. I walked into the bedroom and set the phone down on the dresser, almost like I was trying to put out of sight, out of mind. But I knew I couldn't. I couldn't forget what I had just read. Mia had always been so open with me, so loving. We'd always told each other everything. I thought I knew her better than anyone else. Yet now I was holding on to this terrible secret she'd been hiding from me. The world suddenly felt unsteady. Mia and I had been together for almost 6 years. We met at a mutual friend's party, and from the moment we started talking, there was something about her that made me feel like I could breathe easier, like I could be my true self. She was the first person I felt at home with, the first one I could picture in my future. That night, we stayed up talking for hours, and when we finally exchanged numbers, I couldn't stop grinning. Our relationship was never perfect, but it was solid. We had our disagreements, of course, but we always worked through them. That's what you do when you're in love, right? You fight for it. At least that's what I thought. We'd made plans, big plans. We'd talked about getting married, about buying a house, about having kids. The future was something we both looked forward to with excitement. When Mia said, "You're my soulmate," it was everything I'd ever hoped to hear from the woman I loved. We were partners in every sense of the word. And then, this, the phone, the text, the future with someone else. I didn't know how long I stood in that room, but I eventually found my voice and called her. My hands were still shaking, and when I tried to speak, my words barely formed. "Mia, we need to talk." The sentence was simple, but the weight of it felt like I was carrying the world. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. I could hear her breathing, but she didn't say anything. I saw the texts. I finally forced out. "I saw what you said to him." What is going on?" There was a pause, and I could almost hear her mind working through the words she was going to say. Then she finally spoke, her voice soft but steady. "Ben, you told me I was your soulmate." I interrupted, my voice cracking. "You can't just say that and then do this." My throat burned, and I was fighting back the tears that were threatening to come. "How long, Mia? How long has this been going on?" "I didn't mean for it to happen this way," she said, her words coming faster now. "I never planned on feeling this way. But I do, and I can't ignore it anymore. I am sorta used. I'm not the person I was before. I don't think I ever was, Ben. Not the person I was before." The words stung like a slap to the face. How was I supposed to respond to that? I thought I knew Mia better than anyone, but now she was saying she wasn't the person I thought she was. That's when I realized I'd been living in some delusional bubble where everything was fine when it wasn't. She wasn't in love with me anymore. She was in love with him. I hung up the phone without another word. I don't even know why I did that. Maybe I just needed to escape the pain of hearing it from her, because it was 100 times worse than anything I could have imagined. Mia wasn't the same person she had been a week ago, and I didn't know who this woman in front of me was. She wasn't the woman I married. She wasn't the woman who had told me, just a month ago, that I was the one she'd been waiting for. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was holding on to a ghost. She had already left me in her heart long before she ever told me. I stayed in the apartment for the rest of the night, unable to bring myself to leave. My mind was racing with questions. How long had she been seeing him? Was this an affair? I had been that blind. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I was nauseous. I kept running through all the moments in our relationship when I thought things were fine, and now it all seemed like a lie. She hadn't even tried to fight for us. Not even when it would have mattered. She didn't care that I was on the other end of this phone call, pleading for the woman I loved to come back. She wasn't my soulmate anymore. She was someone else's. Someone I didn't even know. The next few days were the worst of my life. Mia moved out of the apartment while I was at work, taking some of her things with her, leaving behind only the memories and the emptiness of her absence. She didn't even bother to explain herself further. I tried calling her, but she never picked up. I didn't know if she was seeing him already, or if it was just the fact that she couldn't face me. But I didn't need an explanation anymore. The text had already told me everything. The worst part was how normal it felt when I ran into him. Her guy. I don't know why I thought I would ever be able to avoid him. But there he was in the grocery store, as if he hadn't been sending my wife love texts only a few days ago. We locked eyes, and for a moment, the entire world froze. I wanted to say something, wanted to scream, but I couldn't find my voice. He didn't even look sorry. There was no guilt in his eyes. He had won. I walked away without saying anything, but it felt like I'd just been hit by a truck. This was the man who had taken everything from me. But the real heartbreak, the real sting, was that Mia had made the choice. She had chosen him. She had decided she didn't want me anymore. No matter how many times I replayed the words she'd said to me, the promises she'd made, they all rang hollow now. I don't know where to go from here. I'm stuck in this space between love and hate, between wanting answers and needing to move on. I wish I could say I'm handling it better, but I'm not. I keep thinking about all the moments, the memories that were supposed to last forever. How do you let go of someone you thought was your soulmate? How do you rebuild when the one person who was supposed to be your partner has walked away? If anyone has been through something similar, really similar, how did you deal with the emotional aftermath? How do you go from soulmate to stranger? I'm lost right now. Part 2. The following weeks felt like I was stuck in an emotional purgatory. I couldn't even tell you what happened hour by hour. The pain of it all was so sharp that I found myself either completely numb or overwhelmed with rage and sorrow in equal measure. I woke up every day hoping that it was all some kind of terrible nightmare, but the truth was still there, staring me in the face. Mia wasn't mine anymore, and she had already started planning a future with someone else. I tried to keep up appearances. I want to work like everything was fine, but I wasn't fooling anyone. My boss pulled me aside one day and asked if I was okay. Apparently, I'd been looking off for a while. I tried to smile and say everything was fine, but the look in her eyes told me she didn't buy it. How could anyone buy it? How could I pretend that everything was normal when my whole world had just fallen apart? The hardest part was coming home to an apartment that didn't feel like mine anymore. For the first couple of days, I thought maybe Mia would come back. She'd tell me that this was all some huge mistake, that it was just a rough patch and she needed space. But no, she was gone. The apartment was empty except for the few things she'd left behind, and every corner seemed to whisper memories of us. I couldn't escape it. I couldn't escape her. The silence was unbearable. Eventually, I found myself staring at my phone late one night, her contact name still saved in my messages. It was so easy to call her, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I wanted answers, yes, but I also wanted to hear her voice again. I wanted to pretend, even for a moment, that things were okay, that we could go back to how it used to be. But deep down, I knew it wasn't possible. I wasn't even sure who she was anymore, let alone who I was in this mess. Then came the moment I had been dreading. It was a Saturday afternoon when she finally reached out. A simple text, a message that felt like a punch to the gut. Ben, I think we need to talk. I didn't know what I was expecting, but what followed was a conversation that sent my already shattered world into an even darker place. I showed up at the coffee shop we used to visit every weekend. It had always been our place, and I thought maybe the familiar setting would help us find some common ground. I was wrong. When I saw her sitting at the corner table, my heart clenched in my chest. She was wearing the same scarf she used to wear when we would sit here for hours, talking about our future. But this time, the smile I had once known so well was nowhere to be found. She was different, distant. I took a seat across from her, but I didn't know what to say. What do you say to the person who was your entire world and now has shattered it with one choice after another? I didn't know if you were going to show up, she said quietly, fidgeting with her coffee cup. I've been thinking a lot about everything. About us. I could barely look at her. She was here, physically present, but emotionally, she was 1,000 miles away. I felt a lump form in my throat. I've been thinking about it too, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. And I think I deserve to hear it from you. All of it. Mia nodded, taking a deep breath. I didn't want to hurt you. I never wanted to hurt you. But Ben, She hesitated, her eyes searching for something, maybe a way to soften the blow. But there was no soft way to say this. I think I've been lying to both of us. To myself. I've tried so hard to make it work between us. I really did. But the truth is, I've been in love with someone else. And I think I've been in denial about it for a while. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't swallow. I was suffocating on her words. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. Instead, my eyes went to her hands, gripping the coffee cup like she was trying to hold on to something, anything. I wanted to scream at her, to tell her everything I'd been feeling since I first saw that text. But instead, all I could manage was a soft, "When did it happen?" "I don't know exactly," she said, looking away. "It just did. I can't even explain it. And I know this is painful for you, but I've been dishonest with you for so long. I didn't want to hurt you, Ben. I really didn't." She was so calm. She wasn't shaking. She wasn't apologizing over and over. She wasn't fighting for us. And that was the hardest part, the complete absence of regret. She had made her choice, and no matter how much it hurt, I could see it in her eyes. She wasn't coming back. "Are you happy with him?" The words felt like they were choking me. I had to know. Mia didn't look up. "I think so. I'm still figuring it out. But I know this isn't something I can ignore anymore. He makes me feel alive in a way I haven't felt in a long time. Alive. Alive." Those words hit harder than anything else. Because for months, I had been there, standing by her, doing everything I could to make her feel loved, to make her feel safe. And now, here she was telling me that he was the one who made her feel alive, while I had been invisible, even though I had given her everything I had. "I don't know how to move on from this," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I don't know how to just let you go." "I wish I could make it easier," she said, her eyes filled with a sorrow I couldn't recognize. "I really do. But I think you're better off without me. I've already taken too much from you." Those were the last words we spoke to each other. After that, there was nothing left to say. Mia stood up, gave me a final look, a look that felt like an apology, but it didn't feel like it was for me. She walked away, and with her, she took the last piece of the life I thought we were building together. I spent the next few weeks in a haze. I moved out of the apartment because every corner felt like it was haunted by her absence. I couldn't stay there. I stayed with my brother for a while, trying to gather my bearings, but there was no escaping what had happened. The hardest part? The loneliness. I had people to talk to, sure. My friends, my family, they were all supportive. But there was a part of me that could never be filled by anyone else. I couldn't talk about this kind of betrayal, with anyone who hadn't been in my shoes. I tried to move on, or at least pretend like I was. I started going to therapy, which helped a little. But I couldn't stop thinking about her. I couldn't stop thinking about him. And it hurt. It hurt in ways I didn't even know were possible. I still don't have all the answers. I still don't understand how Mia could go from being my soulmate to someone who didn't even recognize the person I'd become. I know I need to let go. I know I need to move forward, but it feels impossible some days. So, if you've been through something like this, how did you let go of someone you thought you'd spend forever with? How did you rebuild when someone you loved more than anything chose someone else? I'm just trying to figure out how to breathe again. How do you move on when your world has been torn apart like this?